It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good, thanks.
Yeah, pretty good.
Ruby.
Hope everybody out there is doing okay. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
What's funny you say galaxy.
Oh, damn.
Well, that's a good thing. Thomas had posted in our discussion group the other day that they were doing a live broadcast of Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. So I've been watching that like all week long.
Oh, no.
I think it's the same ones like over and over and over again because I've seen Willie Nelson at least 3 times now. So that's been fun.
Okay, did you see the one that I posted a few days before that?
I'm not sure.
Yes, I did.
Was it also a...
The Iceman?
It was one of the original ones from the late 60s. I found a channel on YouTube that has put a bunch of them up.
Aw.
So the ones that David was talking about.
I'll have to check that out. I think I saw Space Ghost and thought maybe you had posted that where everybody could see.
No, I posted something totally different.
I see that now. Cool, I'll have to watch that.
I see, said the blind man.
To his deaf son.
Mm-hmm.
What?
As he picked up his hammer and saw.
Anyway, yeah. Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson. Gotcha.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. But other than that, I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning and freaking tech work that I didn't want to do. Seems to be about every 6 months, so maybe it needed a spring cleaning too.
Maybe quit washing it in the bathtub with all that water. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, quit spraying it with Lysol. Trying to get the bugs out.
You'd think it would explode if you sprayed it with Lysol, but I digress.
Right. Definitely wouldn't have viruses, though, right?
Heck no. I wouldn't pick up any computer viruses. That would be awful. Shove some antibiotics in it. That would be great.
I think I did. But, I have 2 virus software programs that runs on my computers, and I don't know how these 2 missed whatever happened. One of them's supposed to tell me like the diagnostics of my computer at startup. Nope. You're good.
McAfee was drunk when he scanned that one.
Sounds
right?
like.
It's like, man. But I'm hopefully I won't have to do that again for at least another 6 months, But no, other than that, I did get another episode of Fallout in. I'm still liking that. I really think that's probably one of the better things Amazon has put out so far. But I keep getting told that the last episode I might change my mind, so I'll keep chugging along to the end.
Didn't I hear they've already greenlit a second, another season?
Yes.
So
and
it's obviously done that well.
With being halfway through, the different places that she's walking to and we're seeing, I can easily see this being more than the original story. They're setting up a whole world for us here. So, and just like the game, there's so many different characters and their backstories and that kind of thing. So I think they've definitely set it up for something like that. Like I said, I haven't made it to the end to see, but I heard whatever the last scene is. People are saying it really pissed them off. Now, I don't know if that's in a good way. Because you can't be pissed off in a good way. But,
really?
Well, you know how it is. A good cliffhanger that it was just done too good, where you're like, you want more, so it pisses you off. So that's a good kind. Not because the story sucked, And oh man, speaking of story sucking.
Oh no.
Yep, it's coming. The second part to Rebel Moon is out. And I will still stand by my first review of. I'm not going to bash him because I think where Zack Snyder actually excels is he makes a beautiful background. He gives you a really amazing world to be immersed in, and just everything is breathtaking, But when it comes to the story, that's where he's lacking. If he ever learns to write a good, cohesive A to B, C kind of story, he's going to be dangerous. And, that's a compliment from me to Mr. Snyder. But right now, it's, this looks good. Let's slow-mo. That's driving me insane. He needs to quit doing that. Let's slow-mo it and give you a good scene. But you can't piece a scene like that together and make a movie. You can a music video, but you can't a movie. You've got to have a story and some kind of substance there. And he's just missed it on this. I don't know if his attention is so much into building this world that the story suffered for that, but so far it just hasn't hit me, Yeah.
You actually watched the second one.
I did. Well, like I said, I'm willing to give him a chance because, like I said, one day, I'm hoping that it will just be like, well, bam, and he does it. I don't wish him bad or anything. He just hasn't done that yet. I think this probably will be a bad thing to say, but I think his little toxic fan base has built his ego up so much that he may not ever get there. He thinks he's there,
I hate to break this to you, Liz, but I think there's a really good chance that he went into that whole toxic fan base situation with the ego already.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, sure, they stroked it vigorously, but I think he probably was already there.
Yeah. And, I looked up some of the music videos that he's worked on. I didn't know he did some for MCR. And honestly, they're not bad. I mean, the videos distinctively stand out from anything different that MCR has ever done. But to me, it came in on the wrong album because the album that he did it for was kind of when they changed their style in music too. It was still good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't the I'm not okay, I'm going to kill you kind of stuff that they had put out before. It was kind of a little bit more happier than what that sounds so emo, but it was
Yeah,
a
it
little
totally
bit
sounds
more
emo.
upbeat and happier than I liked. So, but the videos were amazing, so he can do a good video, but with the video, it's not telling you a whole story. And also, a video, the story is usually wrote by the artist who's singing the song, not him. So,
So what you're saying is he needs to hire an actual writer.
he does. If he was just the director, I think it would be awesome. But with him, the stories have always, they start off good, but he gets a little wordy with it. And when you get a little wordy in your script, you get hokey pokey on the TV screen, So, yeah, he just needs to write it back.
Out.
Yeah. Quit trying to tell the whole story at one time,
Well, he's broken this up into at least 2 movies so far. Isn't there supposed to be a third one coming too?
I think originally he said this would be a 4-parter.
Oh, wow. And how long have each of the parts been so far?
Oh, Jesus. The first one was like 3 hours. I forgot what the second one is. They're long, like Titanic on steroids long.
So we're looking at a 12-hour movie, which is basically just a movie video or a music video stretched out to 12 hours.
Pretty much slowed down, which is weird, sped up, but it's a lot of slow-mo. And that's cool every once in a while, but you almost dumb your audience down when you slow it down like that, because it's like, here, this is what I want you to look at. It reminds me of the guy in the movie theater that's like, ooh, watch this, because he's already seen the movie before, To me, that's what his slow-mo scenes reek of, is, ooh, watch this. I know what to look for in a movie. You don't need to slow it down for my brain to absorb it, And it's just annoying. Or when there's 2 characters talking in the most beautiful background ever, but he blurs it out so you're just looking at these 2 people. What the fuck, dude? I can follow a conversation and still look around where they're at, So to me, it's kind of a lot of dummy down. This is what I want you. Well, yeah. And plus, if they get too boring, you have other things to look at,
Mm-hmm.
So
Boring.
I think that's probably why I don't like this style, is because it is a lot of, this is what I want you to get. And you can tell that in these films or series or whatever the hell you want to call this, because he either slows it down or he blurs it out, Those are like his Michael Bay explosions, That's his little bag of tricks, is slow it down or blur it out. And there's more to a movie than that. So I don't know. Maybe the third one will come along and be like, make all this other stuff click. But to me right now, I'm getting, if you ordered Star Wars from Wish from this. So, yeah.
see, your problem. Yeah, I'm going to tell you your problem. Your problem is that you keep wanting substance from a movie. I mean, geez.
Right?
Who does that?
I mean, fuck. Why do you have to have a plot,
Make it pretty enough and they will come. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I believe you.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Even Justice League, which I didn't care for either, absolutely beautiful. He had some good things going on there, but he mucked it up with the story, The story was a little everywhere, and you wanted us to know, like, the whole background, from time they were born to up to the point of pulling the trigger. I don't care about all that. you know. Couldn't that have been said in a conversation? You know?
Yeah, but you can't slow-mo a conversation. But anyway.
True. They just feel that way.
Go ahead, Les.
I was just going to say, didn't Spielberg face something similar? People saying that if the guy could write a true scene, it would go so much better. The guy cannot write a love scene worth shit.
Yeah. I think they get trapped in their head. Well, this is what I want to see. When it's apparent, nobody wants to see what you want to see.
And that's the whole feel with art in general, is that the artist is creating basically what they want to see in the world. And, sometimes everybody loves it and sometimes nobody loves it. And that's just part of being an artist. It's a crappy part of being an artist, but that's the deal. Is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well,
and it would work if he would learn to edit himself. He's got a good story, kind of. It's been really dumbed down for the viewer, but I don't know.
You're talking about a guy who cut his teeth on Watchmen, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about extraneous stuff. Another movie which, contrary to anything in the realm of possibility, is also a beautifully shot movie.
Yes,
I mean,
is.
It's
and
terrible.
I honestly
scenery,
forgot
but,
he did that.
Yeah, I mean
that one's not bad. I'll give him that one then. The story, it was kind of hokey, but at the time there wasn't a lot of superhero stuff out there, so it was kind of different that he went with the kind of gritty kind of
that
ones,
he chose
but,
Watchmen. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You want and not to belabor this point or circle back to it, but you talk about ego. I mean, anybody who thinks, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make a movie out of Watchmen," that takes ego.
Yeah.
That's anybody who thinks they can do that is insane. So there you go.
Yeah.
So and he actually pulled it off for the most part. I mean, there were people that didn't like it, but overall it was a good movie.
Yeah, overall.
And
it
mostly
like you said,
with
it
the
was
story.
Beautiful,
So yeah.
But yeah, like I said, maybe the third one will come and click these in, and I don't know. But I don't want to always think that I'm hating on him, but there's just, and like I said, I'll give him props where they're due. He always has an amazing soundtrack. He always has a beautiful world that he puts his characters into. It's just sometimes his film style and story is a little lacking.
He's a good example of all style, no substance.
Right.
And it's the kind of style that you want to like, apparently, because you keep going back to it, but you seem to not actually like it all that much in general.
Right. Well, he keeps picking stories in my genre.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, huh. But, I forget exactly who said it to me, but they're like, Dune has really set a high bar on sci-fi films here lately. And maybe that's what we're seeing, is trying to top that. I don't know, but yeah.
Unpopular opinion here. I didn't like the book that much, to be honest. So I've never had Dune. I've never had any interest in any of the movies. I saw the David Lynch one, and that was fucking weird. But
that was enough.
I wasn't interested when they did the miniseries version, 15 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested now. So people can sing its praises all they want, but again, to your point, if you're not going to give me a better story than that, then I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And I say that, and the reason I say unpopular opinion is because there are a lot of people that truly love that book.
Yeah.
I just don't understand them. And that's fine. They're allowed to. It's cool.
I think I might like the story that Snyder's trying to lay down if he gave it to me like Madeline style. You got 5 seconds to tell me what your story's about. And she does, and it's beautiful, and you get the beginning, you get what it's about, and the characters. That's what he needs to learn how to do. Cut your story down. Tell me in 5 minutes what you want me to know. All about this. Well, in his case, it's a movie. So in 2 hours, tell me everything you want me to know about this world. But it's a lot of, oh, but wait, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. No, that's not what I want to know, you know?
Right.
So he needs to, I guess, get a hold of Madeline. How do I condense this down? How do I get people interested in this? So.
Right. Yeah. I actually think that's a good point, is if he could take his 12-hour monstrosity and cut it down to a 2.5-hour movie, he might have a decent movie on his hands if he does it right.
Yep.
But clearly he doesn't know how to do that.
He likes fluff and filler.
He would need, the fluff and filler is all cool to him, which is
fine.
And
it's not.
Some of it is cool, but you're not really leaving anything out for the extended version at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do an extended version of a 12-hour movie.
Extended version to this stuff. Yeah. You're taking 12 hours to tell me a story, but you're telling me that the director's cut's going to be like 20, you know. And then he also, I kind of had a giggle at this. He said that if Rebel Moon would have been released in the theaters, it would have done better than Barbie. Which
might be
did
biased.
The same as Oppenheimer, and he's nowhere on those two films' levels. I mean, come on. You know? So, yeah. But hey, I mean, maybe after a little more practice, he'll get it right, you know. But he's banking, so why would he change? You know?
Right. There's no reason for him to change.
Right. They'll
Absolutely
pay me for this
none.
shit.
Yep.
So, but I don't know. I think if the story was condensed, and I think Thomas had told me before this was originally pitched as a Star Wars story, I could see it fitting into the Star Wars universe, you know, but not the way it is. Right now it just feels like a cheap ripoff of it. So, I don't know. But I could be biased in that because I grew up with Star Wars, you know. These younger people, they may like it, you know.
Right.
This may be their Star Wars. God, I hope not. But
good on them if they do. I mean, whatever. People are allowed to like things. It's cool.
Yeah, totally cool. Yeah.
I don't have to. I can be a curmudgeon. It's cool. It's okay.
I like I said, sometimes the slow-mo thing. It's so dumb. Why do you do that? You know, once in a movie, when that final hit blows, you want it slow-mo. You want to see it. But every single one.
Liz.
Yeah.
You're repeating yourself.
Yep. That's how bad it is.
Tick,
it's
tick,
worth repeating.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Ouch.
Mikey.
Uh-huh. She's still fuming. She's probably mad at me now.
Nope.
Well,
she
of course
may be mad at me, and I don't give it to you.
She just asked me for your address.
Oh, you gave her the wrong one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. The check will be in the mail soon.
Thanks.
Okie dokie. I watched a movie too, but it was much shorter than the one Liz watched. It's
Reds?
noticeably older, but not as old as the stuff I've been watching. I actually moved forward in time a little bit for this one. I watched From Beyond from 1986. Partly because it just sort of randomly popped up on my Fire Stick. in the recommended row. I was like, oh, I haven't watched that in years. Oh, I'm gonna watch it. So it's a Stuart Gordon movie, of course, based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft, starring Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Ken Foree, Ted Sorrell. And it is the story. It's honestly, it's hard to describe because it's Lovecraft, and Lovecraft is weird. I find it ironic that Wikipedia describes it as a science fiction body horror film. I will also agree that this and the Gordon movie that came before it, Reanimator, were the movies that made me understand that I don't like body horror. But anyway, this one's actually not that bad. And it's honestly, I kind of like the movie. It's a little odd at times, but I mean that's to be expected because Lovecraft is notoriously hard to adapt to film. I have seen several adaptations of Lovecraft stories. Very few of them actually convey anything like the emotion that the stories do. This one is not quite right in that regard. It's good enough. It's an interesting watch. I recommend that people check it out if you can handle that kind of thing. Like I said, the body horror in this is it's sporadic and it's only really funky in a couple of spots. But I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, as adaptations of Lovecraft as Lovecraft goes, it's not bad. Also, part of me wants to say that Stuart Gordon did not deserve Jeffrey Combs, just because Combs is so good. He's just so good at his job. It's just amazing. He's really good in this movie. Barbara Crampton is really good in this movie too. Ken Foree is just a hoot also as Bubba. Bubba's a great character. Kind of a shame what happens to him, but anyway. And the whole hospital scene near the end is honestly where a lot of the really funky body horror stuff happens. So just so you're warned. But I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, I like the movie. Is it a great movie? No, probably not. Then again, I have a hard time considering anything that came out of the 80s as a great movie, but I'm biased. But yeah, From Beyond is fun.
That was on Tubi?
No, this was actually on Prime.
Cool.
I usually say stuff's on Tubi, but
Right.
for some reason this popped up on Prime. Which I don't watch much stuff on Prime, so I'm not sure why, but I think that was as much of the novelty of it as anything, is it's recommending this movie that I've seen before and I liked, but I don't know why it recommended it to me.
After all the weird stuff we've watched, I get a lot of weird recommendations too.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, they just all kind of click in that category.
Amazon is watching me more closely than I realized, I guess. I guess
Yeah.
it can see what I watch on Tubi probably and make recommendations based on that because, yeah, I watch a lot of quote-unquote horror movies on Tubi. So now I got to track down Reanimator because I watched it back in the day too, and I don't remember that much of it. I remember the glowing green shit, and I remember it being very silly at times. From Beyond wasn't as silly as Reanimator. It had its kind of jokey moments, but it wasn't really a comedy. I think Reanimator is a little more of a comedy, if I remember correctly. I need to like I said, I need to watch it again to remember, but that's how I remember.
They're saying that's on Tubi.
Reanimator is? Cool.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to put that on my list.
Dun-dun-dun. Okay.
Cool.
Les.
I got a big nothing this week. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, now, don't go telling us you went and got a life this week or something.
Yeah,
Secret's out, huh?
nah, I just don't have much of anything.
Some weeks be that way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I have noticed that Pluto has changed up the next gen rotation. So now they're showing seasons 3 through 7. So so the first 2 are not on, but the rest of them are on. And I had forgotten how out there the final season was. There was some really good stories, but some of these are just like, wow, they just decided, hey, this is the final season, so let's be a little bit more daring. I just, and these are the first time I've seen these since original airing. And I guess that's why I didn't remember that. Plus the fact that, hey, I'm seeing them back to back to back when it was weekly back in the day. So, another thing that I just watched today, it showed up on one of my suggestions on YouTube. It's a video from Atomic Abe. That's the name of the channel. And the video is The Incredible Hulk, Why the Spinoffs Failed. And the focus is the TV movies that they did back in like the late 80s, early 90s. The Incredible Hulk was a very successful TV show. It lasted for like 5 seasons or so. But when they decided to do the TV movies, what they wanted to do was try to set up new shows. So for the first Hulk film, The Return of the Incredible Hulk, they actually introduced Thor and Donald Blank, and they actually introduced them as 2 separate characters. And according to this video, the movie did real well, and they were going to go ahead and do a spinoff, but this happened, I believe it was 1988, which was right when the writer's strike hit. So that kind of caused everything to kind of halt on that front. And the thing that I had never realized, the guy who played Thor played Little John on
Men in Tights.
Yes, Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's the same actor.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it just kind of blew my mind. So they moved on to the next movie, which was The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. So you can kind of figure out who that character they introduced. Matt Murdock, Daredevil. And that movie was well received. And the thing is that Rex Smith, who was cast to play Matt Murdock in Daredevil, and Wilson Fisk, who was played by our good friend John Rhys Davies.
Interesting.
both of them had actually signed contracts to do a series. So it was actually going to go until everything went away in a flash, literally in a flash. CW was putting together the Flash TV series with John Wesley Shipp, and they didn't want any competition. So they literally went to NBC and bought Rex Smith's contract without Rex even knowing what the hell happened until it was done.
Oh, that's shady.
Yeah, because he didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, they actually have a part of an interview here where Rex says that he received a call from his agent and said, yeah, this is not going to happen because your contract's been bought out. And then it goes into the third and final TV movie, which did not have a character, although they talked about possibly introducing She-Hulk or Iron Man, which that would have been interesting because we are talking early 90s.
Mm.
That would have been interesting to see how they would have pulled off Iron Man back then. And then it goes into a little bit about there was talk of doing a She-Hulk TV movie, and they were going to bring back Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. But that didn't go through. And then the Bridget Nielsen movie that really didn't get any further than promotional pictures taken of her. So it's kind of this was a very interesting video. I knew I vaguely remember the movies. I've only seen them like once. And I knew that was the intention was to try to introduce new characters and to do new shows. I got that, but I never knew why they never come about. So this was kind of an interesting video, and this is an interesting channel because there are several other videos similar to this. Matter of fact, this video promoted one of their other videos that I was not aware of this, that they were there at one point there was going to be a TV series of a spinoff from the Bionic Woman, but it was going to be about a bionic dog.
That one I remember.
I know that.
You remember that one, okay?
I remember the thought of it anyway.
Yeah. So I have not watched that yet, but I was not aware of that. So I mean, so it looks like there's some really cool stuff on here. I did catch the one, and a lot of it I knew about was the aborted Superman 5. But I've seen similar videos about that. That was actually supposedly going to be Christopher Reeve's final Superman film, which it would have been cool because it would have been Superman versus Brainiac, and they were going to introduce the city of Kandor and all that. It would have been. It sounds like it would have been a really cool film.
Were they prying it away from canon?
The Salkins actually bought the rights back.
Okay, good.
At that point, yeah. So yeah, and that was about the only way they were going to get Chris Reeve back is because they go into details about that whole thing with the Quest for Peace, because it was Canon's intention, well, or at least they stated it, is they were going to spend as much money and give it the look similar to the first two films, which, if you know Canon films, that's
not likely.
that was asking a hell of a lot, because It was more of a quantity than quality, and just hope the 30 or 40 different films they put out this year, maybe one or two of them will actually become a box office success and help fund the next 30 or 40 films they put out the following year.
Right.
Yeah. That was kind of their MO until it didn't work anymore. So, yeah, they promised a pretty big budget for Superman 4, and then all of a sudden the budget was cut in half, and da-da-da-da-da. It was just a big nightmare, which
doesn't really lend itself to
a
great outing for Superman 4. And
it was horrible.
Little hope for a decent Superman 5 out of the canon group, but whatever.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, the thing was, I think they said the original runtime was like 134, and they cut about 45 minutes out. And Canon was going to turn around and use that 45 minutes and try to use as much of it to do with Superman 5 and do additional shooting. And Christopher Reeve's like, fuck that. I ain't going to be a part of that shit.
Can't blame him, really.
No.
Yeah.
And they show some of the stuff that was cut out, which I have never seen before. Which was, I mean, there's a whole sequence where Clark's fighting a dog over getting the newspaper, and I'm like, really? That's part of the 45 minutes you can actually try to put into spin into a new movie. Okay. Okay, whatever. But yeah, the whole thing with the Superman 5, it would have been really would have been cool. And it was actually the original story was written by Cary Bates, who was a writer for DC Comics, and I think he was one of the writers of the Superboy series at the time when all this was going on. So, and then the Salkins were going to try to do a movie, and then this other movie came out called Batman in '89, and that's when Warner Brothers said, we need to get the rights to Superman back so we can control all this. So they basically got the rights back from the Salkins. So that pretty much ended that, and then of course the accident and all that ended Chris's run.
Yep.
So some very interesting videos. I'm really interested in checking out some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
I'm interested.
Okay, before we get into this week's discussion, I do want to announce a programming note. No new episode next week. This is a scheduled week off. I know things have been kind of screwy so far this year, and we apologize, but life happens and all that.
It's been happening like mad lately, huh?
Yeah. So we do apologize for that. So we're taking a week off, and we'll be back the following week, and we got a lot of fun stuff planned. So for this week, we're actually going back between some of these missing dates and then some of the interviews that we had kind of pop up on us. We didn't actually complete Batman, so we are going to complete it this week. So we're going back, and for this week we are discussing the story arc "Lonely Place of Dying," and the significance of this is this actually sets up Tim Drake to be starting his path to becoming the next Robin. Dun, dun, dun.
Woo.
So let's discuss A Lonely Place of Dying.
I think that this is one of those stories that needed to happen. We had a Batman who was still getting over the death of the last Robin, and he was getting a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Out of control?
Reckless?
Yeah, a little bit more reckless, a little bit more, savage.
Mm-hmm.
I think this kind of took him down a little bit, I look at Robin as kind of like I did Carl for Rick in The Walking Dead. They need that compass to kind of keep them balanced and centered. And I think that's kind of what Robin does for Batman. Gives him someone to listen to. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I liked the story. It did give us a different tone to Batman afterwards. The beginning we meet an orphan, and at the end he's Robin. I didn't know though, had Jason Todd come back at this point?
No.
Okay.
He wouldn't come back for a few years.
Okay. Yeah, definitely needed.
Yeah, see, I like it kind of for the same reason. It gives us a glimpse at the human underneath the cowl, which is something we didn't get a lot. I think we certainly got it more in the comics than anywhere else, but we still didn't get it a ton.
Yeah.
And it gave us a chance to see a very human reaction on Batman's part to the death of Robin and how that can look to the outside world, and how even the people who are quote unquote close still might not notice. They kind of need that poke from somewhere to take a look at Batman and say, hey, this guy's hurting. We need to do something about it.
Yeah. But see, outside of the Bat family, nobody knew he was hurting.
Right, and honestly, neither did they. I mean, Dick didn't know.
Yeah.
Nightwing had no idea.
I think they knew to a degree, but not to the holy shit, we need to settle him down kind of thing. I think they knew what he meant to him, but yeah.
But it took this random complete stranger 13-year-old to show up, piece together that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and go find Nightwing to poke him in the ass and say, hey, go help your friend.
Yeah, he needs you.
He needs you bad. And that was my whole thing, even all the way up to the end. I'm like, who the fuck is this kid?
Yeah.
And why I seriously out-paranoided Batman on this one. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to promise this kid that he can be Robin all of a sudden, just out of the blue. I mean, and I can't believe Alfred let him even take the costume, Yeah. That whole thing was a bit of a stretch. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, from an emotional standpoint, I thought this was a really nice story. I thought the idea of Batman dealing with his grief, to be perfectly honest about it, was a really cool idea, and showing how Batman would go through that process was really interesting. The fact that it was all sparked by this random kid that came out of nowhere was a little odd to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
I can live with it. I can accept it.
I think at that point, Batman was blaming himself. He couldn't have blamed himself more if he would have done it himself. He might as well have done it himself. And I think it took this kid kind of showing him too that, hey, you were dealing with fucking crazy, man. What did you think was going to happen, and What did you? It's sad
Right.
that it happened.
Right. It takes this random kid to come in and say, hey, you couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And you know that deep down. Because often we need somebody to tell us crazy shit like that because we're all messed up.
Well, kind of smack us in the face,
right.
Wake up.
Which I think adds a nice layer of reality to the character of Batman.
Yeah.
Yep.
A nice layer of realism. Realism is probably a better way to say it, but I like that.
And if you were a secret kind of person, the way that Bruce Wayne is, wouldn't you kind of be impressed that this random kid used all of these skills and everything else to find you?
Right. The Joker's been trying to figure this shit out for 60 years at this point. Yeah. This kid walks in day one and knows who he is. I mean,
yeah, here you go, man.
Right. For one, I would have learned how he figured it out. For sure.
I think that's kind of why Batman was okay with that.
Well, he certainly didn't want to push the kid away.
He did what Batman would have done. Yeah. He knew too much.
Yeah, exactly. Keep this kid close because he's clearly too smart for his own good. And mine. Right. Put him in the line of fire. That's what we need to do.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that was dark. But anyway.
Has anybody introduced him to the Joker yet?
Right. He got to meet Two-Face.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that was the snap that he needed. That wake up,
Mm-hmm.
But it is messed up when you can't tell anybody. He couldn't tell anybody what happened to Robin. Other than the Bat family. He couldn't tell anybody. The public did not know what happened to Robin. I mean, one, they might not let any more kids around them, but...
Most certainly not, right.
They didn't know. And that in itself would be a hard secret to keep. Something that's literally crushing you on the inside and you can't say anything. I think that's where a lot of the rage was coming from, is that once again, his lifestyle has made another secret he has to keep, and this one hurts,
Mm-hmm. Also, real quick, straighten out my memory. How much of a thing at this point in 1989 was the Bat family? I mean, obviously, Nightwing used to be Robin. Mm-hmm. We know that. I mean, and Batgirl's around somewhere, I'm sure. But how much did they actually use them together as a group at this point?
Not a lot.
Not as much as they did in the next decade, basically.
Right.
Well, Death in the Family, they used them.
Sure. No, I'm not saying they didn't exist or anything. I'm just thinking it was.
Yeah.
This is part of what happens is that this story is part of building that, putting them together as a family sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is also something that probably needed to happen.
It's been a few years since I read Death in a Family. I think even at that point, the family was like individual stories going on that was setting up all of this one thing to happen. So it really wasn't a group thing then either.
Well, it wasn't much of a group back then. I mean, it's literally Nightwing and Batgirl, and then now Tim being Robin. Excuse me. At this point, that's it. So everybody else, now the Bat family's like 20 people now.
Yeah.
Right, and in its own way.
I think it was Death of a Family was more, like you said, 20 people. They were all together kind of story.
Right. Yeah, when what's his face, Jason died. I mean, they called the storyline A Death in the Family.
Yeah.
But that was almost more planting the seed of the family than actually talking about a family.
Yeah.
So that sort of started the ball rolling toward building the Bat family as a thing, as something that exists. Okay, I just wanted to get that timeline straight in my head. I wasn't sure.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
Well, there was two, right? There was Death in a Family and then Death of a Family. Wasn't Death of a Family the second?
It was later.
Yes, that was the one here about, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you have
Which
like three Batgirls and 3 Robins and
he tells Joker
everybody
his
else.
name. Yeah, that one was good.
Yeah.
I think both of them were really top line Batman stories. And I would put this one right up there with that too, because, you know, coming off the heels of that, and it changed Batman, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it changed him or changed him back, kind of thing. I mean, Batman will always brood. That's his thing, but it kind of...
And Batman varies a little bit with every writer, and so you've got a bunch of different writers over the 50, 60 years he existed before this story, and so you've got slightly different Batman characters along the way, that some of which are more or less brooding, and some of which are more or less emotional, and some of which are just completely callous, and then you get the 66 series, which is entirely outside the box. And so there's a lot of stuff to play with. So this seems like you're just sort of you're taking Batman in a slightly more human, emotional direction, which, you know, works in its own way.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's back when Jason was Robin. If you were reading Batman, the Batman comic, which at that time was, I think Jim Starlin was one of the main writers. You had, I mean, the regular Batman, but you have Robin. You have Jason is the one that has the attitude, the anger issues, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was that time where there was one issue with he was dealing with the guy who was abusing his girlfriend, but he had diplomatic immunity and all that. And the freaking issue ends with him falling off the balcony, but did he fall or did Jason push him? That was left up in the air. You have that. Then if you go read Detective Comics, which was written by Mike Barr at that time, it was almost Batman 66 without the satire.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was. I mean, right down to calling each other chum. It was that type of thing. It's kind of amazing reading those two books. It's two totally different tones. It was crazy.
Right. Clearly, Starlin had a little more influence from Frank Miller, and Barr was like, "Nah, I ain't doing that."
let's have some fun.
Happy-go-lucky Batman.
Yeah.
Got to balance. I mean, honestly, Barr was probably just trying to balance Starlin out a little bit on that one.
Probably.
I'm pinning it on the writers. I'm sure it had as much to do with the editorial staff as anybody, but whoever was actually in charge of Batman at the time.
Yeah.
It was like, sure, you can be dark, but you need to not be so dark.
Right.
Well, was it Marv who did the 900 number?
It was Starlin. Starlin was a writer during that time. Yep.
Yeah. That was pretty dark. Tell us if you want us to kill a kid or not. Yay.
Again, we had already had Dark Knight Returns.
Which didn't that whole thing wind up getting rigged anyways?
I don't know if it was rigged.
I'm sure there are lots of stories about it.
Yeah, there was something about a guy with a robo-collar who, like, freaking, spammed the hell out of the line to kill the kid. And, they were like, had he have not done that, the fans actually voted not to kill him. I mean, because who would vote to kill a kid? That's just...
Jason was not likable.
Jason was a very unlikable Robin.
Yeah. And then they gave us Damien, and they're like, maybe Jason wasn't so bad. I kind of liked Damien too, though, but yeah. But yeah, that was kind of a twisted contest.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Les, your thoughts?
When you were talking about Batman storing all this anger up, you were saying that he couldn't tell anyone. No one knew that he was angry and such.
Yeah.
Who
Secret.
are you saying he was holding this from?
Well, of course not the Bat family and Alfred knew, but as far as pretty much the general public, they seen them together. Now all of a sudden Robin's gone. Where'd Robin go? Well, I can't tell you where Robin went. So anybody pretty much outside of who knew he was who he was, not that it would have mattered, but I think sometimes just being able to get out, hey, I've lost someone that meant a lot to me. But you can't tell anyone that because, who was he? You can't let them figure out who he really was because then that would figure out who you are. And, so I think it was more too of you can't honor that death,
Okay. I do have a problem with that because you make it sound like everybody knew who Robin was. And
well,
there
they
I've
knew
got
he
a
was
problem.
Batman's sidekick, right?
I'm
They saw
sorry?
him fight crimes and stuff together.
Okay. But there are a lot of times that Batman fought by himself.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's not to poo-poo what you're saying.
Oh, he totally poo-pooing.
Yep, he did.
100%
It's cool.
I'm kidding.
Well, I got it in. That's great. But the whole story of the death of Jason, I'm going to recommend the readers to read it. You can buy the book, which includes the story they wrote for If Jason Had Lived, which is a fun read, because then you get to see Batman rejoicing that the little twerp made it. Granted, he was not the most liked person, but he was a damn sight better than what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
The character that is introduced, to me, was a true genius. He not only figured out Batman's personality, but figured out all of the secret stuff. Granted, he was given the cowl or the mask without testing, but that too can be explained just because of what the kid had accomplished. Not that he knew who Bruce was, but just what the kid had accomplished. So, I thought it was a solid read, and the idea of somebody understanding Batman and analyzing Batman was a little far, but it fell into place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it all worked out in the end, sort of.
Well, they needed something to grab people's attention and make them think that he was worthy of Batman.
He wasn't shooting for the part.
Right.
Mm-mm.
That was the good thing.
Right, and the other way you could sort of explain it is, in a way, in that moment there at the end, Batman needed to see somebody in the Robin costume.
Mm-hmm.
How either Tim or Alfred could know that for sure is a bit of a stretch, but I think that's in a way what sort of brought Batman back from the edge.
Kind of snapped him.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, shit, this
or
is
out of it, not
right. It's like, okay, this can still be a thing. I didn't lose a major chunk of my own psyche here. This can still work.
Yeah.
It's sort of a startling realization thing there. Again, I don't know that they explained it real well in the story, but I think that's a good way to explain it after the fact anyway.
So do you guys think that with Tim Drake, they took everything everybody liked about what they did like about Jason and what they liked about Dick and put him into Tim? Kind of like they didn't like the last guy, but they liked the guy before him. So let's fix this. And here's Tim Drake. He was even an acrobat, wasn't he?
Well, his skills are more on the detective side. That's kind of one of the things that they've been kind of really good about is they're all different. They all have different types. Dick is obviously the acrobat. Jason was basically the brawler. Tim's the detective, and then you got Damien.
Damien is the offspring.
Is offspring.
Shit.
I loved him. I loved him. He's probably my favorite Robin. Even over Dick. Because there was so much about him. Dick was having fun. He was beating up bad guys. He was saving the day and all that, and he enjoyed all that. Tim brings kind of a respect.
Yeah.
And kind of a respect to the mission. And like I said, he has the detective skills. He could, obviously because he figured out who Batman's secret identity is. So.
See, to me, Dick was more of the organic story of tragedy happened and this was Batman's way of fixing it. To me, not that I'm not knocking the others, but all of the ones after that was because they wanted the role of Robin, or they were. With Dick, it just kind of happened, and that's when Batman was like, "Hey, I can make you useful."
It was
kind
Batman's
of thing,
idea, not the kid's idea.
Right. And he saw that, So.
Well,
I like Dick.
Well, the
so
thing. Yeah, that's a good clip right there.
As soon as it came out, it was like, no.
No, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah.
Grayson. I'm going to start calling him Grayson.
Uh-huh.
The thing, I think I've mentioned this before in some of our discussion. the thing about Jason is he had the chip on his shoulder, the size of the known galaxy.
Yeah.
And Bruce took him in to try to hone that and try to channel that for good. To be the hero and all that. And I think Jason represents his greatest failure. That's part of my reason why I don't like the fact that he's back. Is if he was still dead, that's his biggest lesson.
Yeah.
That
Very true.
But
it was kind of fucked up the way he was brought back too.
Well, yeah.
Ta-da!
But now he's brought back. Now he's brought back. So everything's okay. Even though years later everything's okay with all of them. But it's just like, then where's the lesson?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with Spider-Man. Because he didn't stop one burglar, cost him his uncle's life. There's consequences to your action. And
what was the lesson with Jason, though? He did everything he could,
Some people are not.
He couldn't do enough.
You couldn't do. Yeah,
even Batman couldn't save him.
Yeah. So I went to see that. The kid died, but not from a lack of him trying, It'd be different at taking it as a failure if he would have went, nah, oh well, Iron the tights, I'm looking for new kid, but he didn't.
Right,
he did everything he could.
Put an ad in the Gotham Gazette.
He did everything he could and still couldn't help him.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really see that as a failure on his part. I know he took it as one. But if you did everything you could, how is that you failing?
Well, but him taking it as one is the deal.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's why it's his biggest failure, is because he decided that it's his biggest failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would've, could've, should've, ate him up.
Right.
Yep.
And again, you get that very human reaction.
And isn't it kind of... yeah, you guys are right. He needed to see him in the Robin outfit, but isn't it kind of morbid that he kept him in that outfit?
That he kept Tim in that outfit?
Didn't they keep Tim in the original Robin outfit? So it was kind of a...
No. Once he officially became Robin, he got the brand new suit.
Did he? Okay. I was about to say, because that'd be a little...
Everything that has come since then has been based off that uniform. When the New 52 came out, all of a sudden Jason's wearing an offshoot of that uniform instead of the boots and the shorts and all that kind of stuff, and everything else has been an alteration of that actual outfit, which was designed by Neil Adams, by the way.
Ah, okay.
I've always thought that was funny that they did that. It's like after the New 52, Dick was the only one who ever wore the shorts and the little boots. Jason never did. Of course, Tim never did. Officially, he never did. And then Damien's been wearing whatever he's been wearing.
But didn't she kind of wear... I thought hers was kind of shorts too, though.
I don't remember that. It may be true, but I don't remember that right now.
God, I haven't watched that in a long time either. Or seen it.
No, everything's been an offshoot of Dick. Now you have Carrie. You have Carrie Kelly.
Dick had babies.
Carrie Kelly in Dark Knight Returns wore the Dick Grayson outfit, but not Stephanie.
Okay. Yeah, hers was more like a little dress kind of thing with tights. But yeah, I would definitely put this on a Batman must-read list for sure.
Yep.
Totally.
I agree.
And like I said, you can find them in collections. So if you want to try that route instead of individual comics, that's the way to go.
Check your comic shop. They might have a copy.
Yep.
Just on the shelf.
Dun, dun.
All right. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this section, we have a couple of news items that we'll bring to the table for discussion. And for this week, it is Les and myself. And Les, would you go first, please, sir?
Thank you, sir. I am going to bring forward the story that Scott Koblish will be doing the covers for the new issues of X-Men. And these 4 issues that they will begin with will include 4 panels from a huge composite of the X-Men, meaning the characters that star in the X-Men. We're talking everyone from the basic to some of the enemies, which also were a member of X-Men. And this will be covered in 4 issues of 4 different titles that X-Men is going to come up with, including, I'm going to say, 3 of the first 2 issues of new titles. This is an amazing layout that Koblish did. And as a group, we were just sitting here amazed at what had been accomplished with this. Because this young man went all out.
Big time.
It's pretty wild.
Yep.
And hopefully this will do well. Like I told the others, at least the X-Men and the new X titles will have this piecing puzzle as their major sellers.
Mm-hmm.
No 2 ways about that. This is going to be something for X-Men lovers, and they will definitely put a plastic sheet over it.
Yep.
And write down every name they can think of who they see. And I am sure there's some out there that will know any and all of them. And I'm not one of them. But I'll be the first to admit it.
I think all of us were. Who's out on a few of them?
There's going to be a bunch of people out there know more than I did, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of folks in this thing, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
And detailed. This boy put in a hell of a lot of work for these.
Yep.
And hopefully they will be pieced correctly. In other words, there won't be an issue cutting off anybody halfway. Because that would just do it in.
That would suck. Build a little overlap into it, people. Come on, jeez.
Yeah. So that's what I bring.
Okay.
Yep, it's pretty awesome looking.
That is pretty awesome. Yep, that's a lot of work.
And to think he only did it in 3 days.
Uh-huh.
I don't even think you could color that in 3 days.
If you don't sleep or go eat or use the bathroom, maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the guy trying.
Oh, your hand would cramp.
My hand's cramping just looking at it.
It is. Some of these people are so tiny, but you can plainly tell who they are. That's what blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
So many little faces, but they're distinct.
Just think of how his hand is going to cramp when he has to sign the covers.
Yeah. I'd be charging for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Normally 5, but if you have this book, 20. Or 40, because you say there was 8 covers.
I was going to say 20 would still be a deal, because
Yeah.
cut the price in half.
But where would you, I guess the plastic bit, it's like, where would you want them to sign on that?
The back. That's where I would want them to sign it.
If they're by the flies, maybe?
On the back. Turn it over, sign the back.
Sign on the sign that says Marvel, or the X-Men,
right?
Or the X.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I would do it on the X. Yeah.
Yeah.
That way, it's still visible, but you're not blocking the art.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Wow. So the news section for this week is kind of Marvel intensives because mine's Marvel related.
We got to balance out the DC episode we just did.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Let me go back and see who this is for. This is Simon & Schuster's Gallery 13 is actually going to reprint or do a new edition of one of the earliest trade collections of comics. It's titled Origins of Marvel Comics.
Oh, really?
Yes, this originally came out in 1974, and I had a copy of it, and I remember reading the hell out of it. This edition includes the first appearance and origins of Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Thor, and Doctor Strange. There's going to be a paperback edition with apparently the original cover. And then there is going to be a hardcover edition, which is going to include a new cover, essays, and more, which I guess we'll find out later what more is. But this is so cool. I enjoyed reading the heck out of this back in the day. This will be coming out September 3rd. The paperback edition lists for $21.99, and the hardcovers for $50.
Neat.
Wow.
A blast from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cheap at twice the price.
Well, I mean, the original price for it was $6.95, but then again, that was 1974. So.
Right.
Yeah. I really hope that this is a start of something, because there was a Son of Origins, there was also Bring On the Bad Guys, and then there was Women of Marvel. So there was like four books that they came out with of something similar. So I hope they do those as well, or do a big ass collection, because it would be awesome to see some of those again.
Yeah.
And I never had any of the others. All I had was this one, and I have no clue what happened to it. So I will definitely be picking up one when this comes out.
Very cool.
That is pretty cool.
Check that out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
You mentioned the week off, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll just move on to our regular shout-outs. First off, want to thank Pop Goes the Culture podcast network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Please go check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who've been so kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter/X. And that is the people of Podern Family. The best way to do that is just to do a search, hashtag Podern Family, one word. Just scroll through whatever catches your eye. By all means, click on that link, download the episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. We also want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to the podcast. In our show notes, there will be a link to where you can check out some of their other pieces of music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any comments, questions, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net is our email address. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form that you can fill out. Didn't mention this earlier, but we do have a Discord. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to have fun, all that kind of stuff. We do have the section there for feedback, so sign up for Discord is free. The apps are free in the app stores. We do have an open invitation on our homepage. So come join us if you want to hang out with us. Social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it, and remember that Free Comic Book Day is coming up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go check out your local comic shops.
There you go. And while you're there, pick up Space Ghost #1, because that will be out by then.
Yep.
We'll expect that check any day, David. Just kidding. We appreciate you listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,